welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Pisces, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of January 2025. I hope you are well and Happy New Year to you. I've turned the camera ever so slightly so you can see that it is snowing outside. I am actually recording this on the solstice. And about an hour ago, the rain stopped and the snow started to fall, and it looked canny serious for a little while there. It's slackening off a little bit, but it really does feel properly seasonal now, which is awesome. Anywho, I'm using the Sophie Tarot for you today. Here it is. This is going to be kind of a new thing. I don't know. When I was trying to work out which deck to use for you, none of the ones on the table really heralded any kind of recognition of me at all, and it was this new deck that I picked up in October that was kind of waving at me. So I've got it out, and it's very excited to talk to you all. But I haven't actually looked through it, so I don't know what any of the imagery looks like at all. It seems appropriate though. This year is going to be really important, Pisces. Particularly for you. I think it's going to be important for everyone. Not only are we moving into a 9-year, which heralds the end of a particular cycle, which is really quite important, but we have the North Node moving into your sign. So, the depending on your view of the zodiac, right, the end sign, the culmination point of the zodiac before everything starts again, coming in to see over a transition from one cycle into another seems to me to be incredibly pertinent, matching both the astrology and the numerology of the moment. And I'm glad you're here, Pisces, to do that, because I think the world needs a bit of a Pisces intervention. I'm probably going to do a video on it at some point, but we'll not worry about that now, because right now what we want to do is have a look and see what's going on with you. Now, this deck's very, very thick and fat, so I can't shuffle it the way that I would usually shuffle it. So what I propose to do is, look at that snow, man. It's made me so happy I can't even tell you. I just flipped the camera around here. What we're going to do is we're going to give it 5 shuffles. I've been shuffling it quite furiously for the last 20 minutes actually, so we're good. So let's go 5 and 4, 3, 2 and 1. I'm going to cut the deck right here, and we're going to take from the top. So the Star for your recent past, the 4 of Pentacles for your current energy, and what's this? The Hierophant. How very fucking appropriate, Pisces. The Hierophant for what's coming towards you in January. Let's flip this over. We have the 8 of Pentacles. Sorry, I've got goosebumps. This is really, truly leaning into what I have felt quite intuitively for Pisces. And it's been coming along for a year now. I've been spotting this, like Pisces has been in training in some way or another for something. And the penny only really dropped for me, about 2 or 3 months ago when I was talking to my Pisces daughter, and I was explaining to her about how the node would be, the North Node would be moving into her sign at the end of January. I think it's like the January the 23rd or something like that, I said. And so, there's going to be much more of that kind of Piscean energy prevalent, running through the collective, not just for Pisces obviously, but for everyone, and lighting up particular houses that we all have that are ruled by the sign of Pisces. And I realised that this kind of strengthening up, this training, whatever it is that Pisces has been going through over the course of 2024, and at points it was it's been an amping up, and it's been amping up ready for something. And here we have it really very directly spoken about. So we have Sitara, the star here. We have the 4 of coins. We have Pir, which is the Hierophant. And here is the 8 of coins at the bottom of the deck. I mean, the 8 of coins is about our work. Now, whether this is our literal, what we do to earn money, to bring the coin in to pay for the things that we need to, or whether, and this is the way that I tend to prefer to think about the 8 of Pentacles, whether it's our great work, whether it's what we're here to do, it's a sense of life purpose, something like that. Or even better, a blending of the two, where the life purpose, the guiding star, the reason that we're here to share what we know, right, all coming together in something that we adopt as a day-to-day kind of practice that makes us stronger and wiser and possibly more powerful too. I should certainly hope that that would be the case. Now, let's give this little deck a shuffle and get some clarifiers out. So why is the star here for Pisces, please? Okay, of course it is. We've got the Knight of Cups. These cards are extraordinary, are they not? We've got the Nine of Swords and we've got the Nine of Wands, but let's be accurate because these did come out reversed. Tell me about the Four of Coins. The Magician. Pisces, please. The World. Can we see the themes that are really they're very strongly stated here. Tell me about the Hierophant, please. What's the Hierophant here for Pisces? Knight of Pentacles. Absolutely leaning into what we've said about the Eight of Pentacles there. Why is the Hierophant here? Wow. And we have... Ooh, wow. Three of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Let's put these all where you can see them more clearly. There. Three of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. It's about cooperation, collaboration, coming together, working together to create something that is quite often more than the sum of its parts, is what I would say about this. You've got double pentacles underpinning this. I mean, it's like the work starts here, Pisces. And just to, preface, in case you haven't seen any of my videos before, preface what comes next with a certain position that I hold about the sign of Pisces. I've said many, many times since 2020, right? 2019, I guess more accurately, that it's always annoyed me, vexed me, irritated me just a little bit when astrologers and tarot readers refer to the energy of Pisces as somewhat wishy-washy. Like, Pisces know that that's not true. I know that that's not true. It's a transcendent power that doesn't sit terribly well in our modern day society, right? Where perhaps people are overly attached to things of a material nature, right? There is no sense of culturally much that lives beyond that. And that's very difficult for Pisces, because Pisces is a sign that has literally at least 1 foot in and 1 foot out of this world, right? There's a connection to something that Pisces has that quite simply cannot be explained by the kind of vocabulary that we use to describe the modern day. Like, it's just not possible. And this is sometimes why I've struggled to articulate what it is that Pisces is experiencing at any given point, because it's kind of above my pay grade in terms of the depth of it, or the height of it, possibly, right? It's a difficult thing to try and condense down into something as solid as a word. And I think that the world is going to start to truly understand this higher level that Pisces works at natively, naturally, as you work to bring more of this into the world as it is required, right? So in your recent past, we have these are just heart-achingly beautiful, I have to say. The star card here. Now, it is the card of Aquarius, and unless you've been hiding under a rock, you'll understand that Pluto moving into the sign of Aquarius is actually an incredibly significant event. We call it a generational planet, right? So when it moves into a new sign, we've got a whole new generational experience about to happen. As Pluto moved into Capricorn in 2008, what we had was an exposure of what was, Pluto rules those things that are underneath the radar, right? It was about the exposure, the exposition of what was deeply corrupt and almost stacked against everybody as far as the game was concerned when it comes to things that were Capricornian in nature, so hierarchies and not so much banking as such, because that's kind of ruled by Taurus, but right, these big overarching structures that sit over the top of society, or they sit over the top of people, bringing this quite strict method of application. Right? It's like, you've got to do it this way. These are the rules of the game. But Pluto has exposed the fact that the game was always rigged against people. Little people. Power in the hands of multinational companies, corporations, governments, all that sort of stuff. As we move into the era of Pluto in Aquarius, what we have is something altogether more radical, more rebellious, but something of a higher level of vision that is coming in. And I think this is why Pisces is so very important, right? It's the sign before yours. So we could think about that in terms of a staging, right, for the energy of Pisces to run through. But quite aside from its interpretation as a representation of the energy of Aquarius, it's also about that higher level vision. It's about healing. It's about hope, the return of hope, possibly. It's about being able to feel a sense of connection, and that's what this card does really, really well. I've not actually seen that in another card before, right? We've got water leading us to the star, connecting us to the star. There's a whole reason that I've got why I interpret the star that way. I won't bore you with it now, but I've talked about it at length in other videos. What we've got is something up there, something not obviously accessible to a lot of people that you have a connection to, a vision for the future, a vision for healing, a vision for a return of hope. And this, whether this is something that you've been thinking about in a very concrete way, Pisces, or whether this is some sort of an emotional abstraction that you've been kind of playing with for a little while, the truth is, the world is ready for this to come in. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will understand your offering immediately, because I think we're a little way off from that, though I think that would probably happen as the node leaves your sign and moves into Aquarius, as it will do. But we've got a reduction of fear and a reduction in the need to feel like we have to protect ourselves from something. Now, the way that I am reading those two cards, and you can take it as it's actually occurring in your 3D reality right now, relationships, work situations that you might find yourself in, anything of a material nature, or you can really blow it up to something much, much bigger. You're ready to start showing the world what it is that you're connected to. You are ready to start being the channel for that to start working through you. The Knight of Cups there, it is Pisces energy, but it talks about the giving of a cup. Now, I think the last few years have been, probably prior to 2024, those couple of years before, so let's say 2022, 2023, but maybe for some of you reaching back even as far as 2021, they were kind of rough years. They were kind of difficult years. 2024 seemed better, even though it was still hard. And I think for most people, I think we've kind of underestimated how difficult 2024 was. But it's because it's been stacking over time, right? The difficulty just hasn't been abating at any point. And we have, in response to that, grown stronger. For Pisces, a really deep sense of self, a really deep sense of recognition of and ownership of the fact that at least part of you is not of this realm, right? And accepting that, embracing that, and going, well, kind of that might have made me a little bit weird to other people for a long time, but it's a feature, not a bug, right? I might call this reading that. Like, to be a Pisces is a feature, not a bug in the system. And there's so much that has empowered you this year. It may not have been materially, but it's certainly given you something. You feel to me like you're standing in something really, really strong, and it's ready to welcome in the future, right? There's a duality with Pisces that is of the dark and of the light. And actually, it's really interesting that I should be recording this directly on the solstice, because we've got that point where from here on out, we're moving towards the light. Like, the days are not shortening, the days are going to start lengthening from here. And so we're literally living the duality of Pisces in whether or not it's perceived by people, we're certainly going to be living it for the next few months, 18 months possibly, but here. I don't know, Pisces, I feel like you're strengthening up of you here in this material realm by the development of a sense of self, by the development of an acceptance that whether you like it or not, you are vibrating at this frequency, right? To give yourself this level of density, but that doesn't have to be all that you are. It's made you stronger. I've done quite a few personal readings with Pisces over the last few months. And I've witnessed this in them. It's like Pisces has gone from somewhat of a passive bystander to someone who is able to open up so entirely that there's something that's coming through. And that something that's coming through could not possibly have landed at any other point until now. Now, maybe that was because you, Pisces, were not ready to bring it through. Or maybe it was because the people that were, are going to be receiving this were not ready. It could be a combination of both. But there's an ease with which you seem to be energetically moving around now. And materially moving around, I've got to say, a little bit. That is speaking to a readiness. You're not feeling hunted, you're not feeling guarded, you're not feeling like you have to obscure any part of yourself. It's like, no, I am here. I am standing in everything that I am. And everybody needs to be ready for what that looks like. Like all this work that you've been doing, it's almost like you've been creating this pathway to the star. Shut that window. And it's ready to go. As we're ready to take humanity up to the next level, here you are. What's that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and all of that. I've been talking for the last year about Pisces being a teacher, a leader, a guide, and I never really understood why that would be, because it was something that would feel quite obnoxious to a Pisces. In my experience, at least, anyway, right? The Pisces are not really known for wanting to put themselves in centre stage and have everybody look at them. It's that's quite uncomfortable. And yet, Pisces seem to be positioned for exactly that. I thought, that's a bit mean now. It's a bit unfair. But I'm starting to see why it is now. And I'm starting to see that Pisces have been, at least for 6 months, but I think, realistically speaking, it's been for the best part of a year, getting ready. It's kind of like getting all the adjustments in place, ready to step up and take this role on. Because in order to properly navigate what comes next, and really from 2025, 2026, 2027, we have some fairly fundamental shifts going on. I found myself rolling around the idea of entropy quite a lot in the last 3 or 4 days, to the point where I feel like I'll probably do something about that. Where I'll do a video, or I'll do some sort of class or something over on Circle. We seem to have reached that critical mass point where entropy is now finally visible to everyone, and the amount of effort required to try and stabilize the system, to try and stabilize what everybody thought was, reality and whatnot, is now getting to a point where even those most numb and most insensitive of people, no disrespect to them, but as in not sensitive, cannot help but perceive this inflow. Numerologically, it says Pisces. Astrologically, it says Pisces. Just from an understanding of what comes next, it has to be Pisces. This is where you are getting ready to step into your own. And those people who are more attached to, more wedded to the stability and the security that they perceived of the material world, and which, to be fair to you, Pisces, has always felt like a restriction on your soul. It is those people who were wedded to that, who thought that it was much more real than it actually is, who are going to struggle, who are going to suffer. And so what they need is somebody who is uniquely qualified, if you will, to guide them through the process. I've seen this same message of teacher, leader, guide coming through from all of the signs, which is really, really interesting. Everybody doing their bit, bringing their own particular strengths to the new world, or the transition across, maybe, because as the High Priestess, you are the keeper of the liminal space, right? Your guardian, perhaps you could call it that, but certainly somebody who could be perceived as someone who could guide through liminal spaces out to the other side. I know that I'm not talking too much in the abstract for you, Pisces, but I imagine I probably couldn't talk to the other signs like this, because they have no idea what I would be fucking going on about, right? But this is you. You've been put here for a reason. You've been given the skill set that you've got for a reason. You have struggled and suffered for a reason at various points in your life. All of it giving you what you have now, ready for you to turn around and be able to give it to the collective as they come through one by one, going, what the fuck is happening? And you're like, entropy. Let's go. Let's fucking go. I'll be blathering on for ages, right? So when we come to your current energy, we have the 4 of coins. That's the 4 of pentacles in a standard deck. And it's underpinned by the Magician and the World. Now, I think that this is really important, because as much as we would love to give ourselves over to just a complete return to spirit, right? Bollocks to the material world. It's all shit. It's not real anyway. That isn't quite how it works, and we're not ready to all just shimmer out of existence and return to source, right? That's not what's going to happen. But it has to be managed carefully. The 4 of coins quite often represents a miserly energy, right? Somebody who is kind of keeping everything that they have locked away because, and this is generally the reason, they don't believe in the benevolence of the universe. They don't believe in the benevolence of an underlying intelligence that we know, we can see, runs the world. And they are concerned that if they let something go, that it will not return to them in any kind of meaningful way. Now, you know that that's not true, Pisces. You also, probably because you're not that fucked on the material world anyway, right? But the other way of looking at the 4 of Pentacles, and I think that this is really significant, is that it can sometimes stand for core values. It can sometimes stand for those things that actually we need to dig in about, right? We need to keep hold of these things. We're talking about principles, we're talking about values, we're talking about the understanding that unbridled permissiveness isn't necessarily a good thing for people. And as things, follow the entropic arrow, maybe, and they start to descend into a deeply unordered state, that people may launch towards trying to keep hold of the wrong things. They may try to hoard their possessions, or they may try to, hoard things that really don't mean anything, at the exclusion of those things that are deeply ethically, spiritually, and morally correct. Now, the magician and the world are here because, we can see this in lots of ways, actually. Well, I'll run through the two most obvious to me. The first is that we are reaching a state of completion, right? We see this in the numerology. Potentially we see this in the astrology, right? Because Pisces, liminal spaces, whatnot. So we've got an ending, and we need somebody who is really fucking powerful, like Pisces, who understands innately the nature of endings, and understands innately that it is important for things to break down so that something new can emerge. And that's you. And in some way or another, you are going to be formulating a bedrock of ideals, a bedrock of values, a bedrock of something substantial that people can see when they're kind of running around going, fuck, 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 the sky is falling, or whatever it is that they're doing, because there will be a lot of that this year, where you can very calmly go, no, it's okay. It's entropy. It's, it's the chaos that is necessary for the regeneration, the rebirth, the new structures, those which actually support rather than constrict or restrict, oppress, whatever it may be. So that's one way of looking at it. But we also have the possibility that we've got someone here who is instructing the world, in whatever way that might apply to you, in the art of interacting with Source, in the art of speaking to the universe and saying, this is what we need. We need a kind of, just a little bit of order somewhere. And it doesn't have to be based in the material. It needs to be a personal kind of order, a recognition that things are changing and breaking down, or re-emerging. These things are all happening at the same time, simultaneously. There is never a void. There's never something that's just completely empty of anything. The universe does not permit that. But whichever way you look at it, Pisces, you are the magician here. You are someone who has created the pathway to the star. Mayhap you might even be the star yourself. There is a role here for you to play in drawing down the energy of the new. But that's going to look like chaos. That's going to look like things that are a little bit out there for other people. I did a personal reading with a Pisces about a month or so ago, and she was telling me about an energy that she's been working with for a few years, and she's like, I'm ready to start pioneering this. I was like, you are just in time. Because if you tried to do this a year ago, the only people who would be interested were Pisces, because they'd be the only people who could really understand what was going on. Everybody else would think it would be a bit kind of batshit, a little bit out there. But now, as everything is changing, and it really picks up a pace next year, I think we've got a slowness with Mars retrograde that's not really going to clear properly until about April, and then we find ourselves in another Mercury retrograde. So we're looking at basically the end of spring, beginning of summer possibly, where things start to really, really ramp up. But that's a relative term, because a lot of the things that are going on now, even balls deep in the Mars retrograde as we are right now, are wild. Personal movement forward is a little bit different, but fuck me, it's all moving around out there, isn't it? It's this breakdown. It's the decay. It's the things losing their structural integrity. To go back to this Pisces that I was doing the personal reading with, like, I don't think it's too out there now. I think that there are a lot of people out there who are going to go, huh, yeah, no, that makes sense. That's something that I want to learn how to do. I want to learn how to work with it. If you haven't done it already, and I would imagine 2024 has been a lot about getting you ready for this, so you probably have, it would be about understanding deeply, on a really deep fundamental level, what it is that you stand for, what it is that you think is important, because these are going to act as the building blocks, right? This is what you have to communicate to other people. We see that here in the Three of Pentacles, but it's overtly stated here. Get your foundation correct. Know your values. Know your principles, whether they're spiritual or material or whatever, right? Because the work in January begins very, very quickly. Like I said, I think it's the 23rd, might be the 25th, I cannot remember. Can I keep dates in my head? I should maybe write these things down. At some point towards the end of January, the North Node will move out of the sign of Aries and into the sign of Pisces, and I think that the work starts immediately. Your work starts immediately. Now, you don't have to have a YouTube channel, and you don't have to be, necessarily schooling people on things right away. It may be that this starts small. It starts within your immediate environment, but it's going to ripple out very, very quickly, Pisces. Like I said, a lot of what's happened this year has been about getting you to a point where you have such a good foundation. And we could see the Four of Pentacles as that, actually, like such a good foundation that you're like, no, this is, from here, I'm good. I'm absolutely good. And whatever comes my way, I'm going to accept it. But the hierophant. The hierophant represents the sign of Taurus. And it has at points, and still does at points, represent hierarchy and structure and social institutions like marriage, but also actual institutions like the church. I mean, you could see it representing things like even sports clubs and stuff like that. Wherever you got one person at the top and then you have acolytes. We're talking about things that are hierophant-like in nature. But I think that is changing slightly. And it's not changing. We're moving away from this rather structured interpretation of the hierophant, at least for the current time, and more into the... So I looked up where hierophant actually comes from as a name, as a term. And one part of it, the phantis, is priest, learned person. Hiero is the mysteries, the symbols, the representations of the divine. So when you put hierophant together, what you've got is somebody who can decode the secrets of and the mysteries of the universe, right? Somebody who can actually interpret what is going on for the masses. Now, I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with the hierophant, but I'm really softening to him, specifically since I started looking into that, right? Because so much of the Taurus archetype is really very interesting, right? They learn a thing, they want to share the thing, right? They're natural teachers. But where we go, and particularly over the next 2 years, and 18 months of that is going to see you in charge of the North Node. Where we go from here is somewhere that is hitherto unmapped, unknown, unexplored. We're going to need somebody who can slide across the top of this and interpret it very strongly. Now, there's a way of looking at the hierophant here to say that it is possible that some of you, if you have not already, could be getting big spiritual accelerations at this point. You could find yours that, certain skills that you've got really starting to amp up. I'm talking about not, whether you can carve wood or anything like that, but I mean like the other more esoteric things. I really, really dislike the term spiritual downloads. It actually just makes me feel a bit fucking ill for some reason, and I don't know why, but it does. I don't like it. But let's say that there is a greater level of access to spiritual information. Right? Some of you might be able to just access Akashic records in your dreams and things like that, right? Dreams are going to be big as well in the next 18 months for everyone, but specifically for you. I mean, the guidance is looking where other people can't see and then being able to interpret what you find there. It starts here. It's immediate, Pisces. And we've got the Knight of Pentacles echoing in some way, like that energy of the Eight of Coins, maybe even the Three of Coins, Four of Coins here, and saying, how can you take all of this and synthesize it so that it's here, so that it can guide you, but you can use it to guide others? Because I do believe this is the first month where people are going to realize that the old world doesn't exist anymore. We're not going back. We can't go back. And that isn't just about the material presentation of what it is to be alive, right? We're talking about consciousness. We're talking about things that are seen that cannot be unseen. We're talking about the possibility of people experiencing fractured consciousnesses as they try desperately to assimilate new information and they cannot make it fit with what they think they know about the world. I've been really surprised, and then also totally not surprised, by how many people that I personally know who have had psychotic breaks in the last couple of months. It's wild. And these people who are deeply rooted to the material, that very thing that is breaking down, right? They're so anchored to it, they cannot perceive anything outside of that. But something's got in there. And that process of trying to balance all of those things out has broken stuff just briefly. I feel like that's probably going to start amplifying. That's probably going to start picking up. And as the world is looking for answers in places that they are not schooled to look, they are not educated on how to look there, whether it's through dreams or symbols or connection or just energy generally, this is where you are going to start to really come into your own. Hopefully you don't have to deal with anybody who's had psychotic breaks or anything like that. I just threw that in as an aside, as a personal thing, because I've seen it happen, and it's been really strange. Sorry, can you see the snow? I'm staring out the window at the snow. It's just the most fucking magical thing. I just love it. Anyway, like, if you were any other sign, I would say dig in, get ready. But you're Pisces, right? So you don't need to get in. You need to just get ready, go with the flow. Because the flow is going to be strong. The flow is going to be intense. The flow is going to ask things of you. But I think that you understand that you are in a position whereby you can give those. Right? Pisces actually doesn't have too much of an issue in giving anything, right? But there is a need for it now. And I think if you are unprepared, and I don't think there are many Pisces that I know that are not prepared in the ways that are important. If you're not prepared, this could catch you a little bit off balance. In times of crisis, in times of chaos, church attendance goes up. There's data on it. Whether it's war or whatever it is, right? Goes up. People start professing to have beliefs that stretch outside of the material because people need them. Faith, belief, these are the things that get people through difficult times. I'm sure I read something, a study somewhere about the mindset of people in concentration camps. It's like how people who did not demonstrate faith or hope just simply gave up and let go, right? And that was it, you know. Those people who really believed, those people who really had faith in the fact that they would be at some point released and they would live good lives again, those were the ones who found the strength to keep moving. This year, I think, can be an absolutely magnificent year for those people who are able to rather fluidly move over the top of everything. Right? Those people who are adaptable, those people who are flexible, right? And mutable signs are definitely that in bucket loads. I think the suffering comes from those who are trying too hard to hold on to those things that are not as important. They will be the ones who struggle. Those are the ones who will be disappointed. Those are the ones who will not truly understand what is going on. You're here to teach, Pisces. You're here to lead. You're here to guide. And I cannot tell you how personally grateful I am that you exist. I'm blessed to have a number of Pisces in my life, one of which is my daughter. But my brother-in-law is also a Pisces, and interestingly, even though I forget about it all the time, my dad was a Pisces too. So it's a strong influence that's been around me my entire life, and I think that's probably what's given me that level of irritation when people start talking about how Pisces are wishy-washy and all that kind of shit. I mean, they're about to get a slap, a reality slap. And I don't actually take any joy in that. I think that's going to be difficult to navigate for a lot of people. But I am so glad that you're around. And certainly I will be paying very close attention to the Pisces in my life and what they have to say and what their intuition is tweaking about. I'll be paying attention to that. And I think that you need to be ready to put it out there a little bit more than you've been comfortable doing up until this point, Pisces. Right, I've been fucking blathering on for ages, so I'm going to go now. I'm going to go to the extended, so if you'd like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. Links for that are in the description box. She says, staring out of the window at the snow. Focus. This is such a big year. Such a big year. Yeah. That's it. That's it. I'm going to stop Neptuning now. Go actually do things. So I'm going to go to the extended, like I said. I'm really proud of you, Pisces. I'm struggling to articulate exactly what it is that I'm feeling here, but hopefully, like from my heart to yours, you can feel that deep appreciation and that deep love. So, before I start to cry, I'm going to go. I'm going to leave. Know that I love you all very, very much. I'll see you soon.